WCBI News at 6 starts now.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. Alabama's governor is taking an up-close look at the destruction left behind after weekend tornadoes. Governor Kay Ivey viewed the debris path from a helicopter before taking to the ground in Lee County. Ivey also signed the FEMA declaration. Then this will allow federal assistance to the area. Earlier this week, the governor issued a supplemental state of emergency, expanding the state of emergency statewide. The National Weather Service reports about 11 tornadoes in the area. The EF4 tornado track was about 70 miles long before it moved into Georgia. Meanwhile, there are still no federal funds in Lowndes County or in other counties facing problems from flooding. After today's emergency management agency briefing in Columbus, there's still no word on when FEMA aid may be available. Governor Phil Bryant has not requested federal assistance yet. The governor is still waiting for details from flood assessments. Those surveys are still being conducted. The two shelters that have been housing displaced families and individuals will close at the end of the week. The Red Cross shelter at the Townsend Community Center and the Salvation Army's shelter both closing Friday at noon. The Red Cross will transition people to hotels or other temporary housing. The organization will continue to provide its mobile feeding, and that will be through Sunday. The Salvation Army will provide feeding and clothing from 10 a.m. until 5 p.m., and they are closed on Monday. Well, last week, you may remember, we brought you the story of a Columbus woman who lost everything in the recent tornado. We met Shirley Ferguson. It was her 57th birthday. She was outside of her destroyed Railroad Street apartment. On that day, she told us she felt helpless and lost. Today, Miss Shirley says she's feeling completely different. Our Jory Talley joins us in the studio with an update on her story. Jory.
As I found out today, many of our viewers felt and saw Shirley's pain when we shared her story last week. Dozens have been reaching out wanting to know how to get in contact with her and ways they could help. Shirley says ever since her story aired, life changed.
God said, Tia, you might cry that night, but joy gonna come in the morning light, and I believe that.
What a difference a week has made in Shirley Ferguson's life. 10 days ago, she had nothing. Today, she says she is blessed with more than she could ever imagine.
This smile on my face, I didn't have it last week. I said, and the love people have shown me, that will put the joy in me.
When we first met Shirley, her home was gone, claimed by the tornado. She was exhausted and frustrated, going from agency to agency. She needed help. It was her 57th birthday, a year she woke up thinking would be her worst. But now, it's one she'll never forget. And it's because of our viewers and people from as far as Tennessee.
I done had over 100 calls. I done had over, I'm talking about, over around about 20 or 30 people just come and donate food, clothes.
Shirley's daughter also set up a cash app for her mom to receive donations. And because of viewer generosity, she's watching her dream turn into a reality. She's in the process of moving into her new home, filled with what she calls blessings.
I'm so happy to have a roof over my head where I can do and see my grandkids, just sit out, watch TV, and we got a yard, a backyard, so they can run around and play, put them out there. And I said, God, just what I needed.
Shirley says everyone, even complete strangers, leave her in awe.
I would like to tell y'all thank you from the bottom of my heart, because the person you see here is a whole lot different from the one that you saw a week ago. And because of you all and you showing your love to me, my faith in man is restored.
Shirley also says 2 churches have adopted her and her family, and she tells me that 57 is the best birthday of all, and she appreciates your prayers. If you want to learn more about her story, head on over to our website at WCBI.com.
All right, Jory, great story. Thanks so much for sharing that. Well, planting season is just around the corner for area farmers. That means getting equipment up and running and getting fields ready. But the recent rains could be putting everything on hold. Our Riley Livingston has more.
It's been a wet winter, and those heavy rains and flooding have left behind soggy fields. But farmers started feeling the effects early on.
We were put out in the fall early, We didn't get done what we wanted to do. We have some fields that will end up being no-till. We didn't quite finish a lot of ditch work that we do in the fall after a crop comes off. We didn't do maybe a little land leveling and such as that. We didn't get any of that kind of stuff done.
Flooding in many counties left some farmland completely underwater. Many farmers had winter crops or cover crops in those fields.
We were a little delayed getting them in, and we just haven't gotten good growth off of them because of the wet weather, that it's just set and saturated. Just like a summer crop would do the same thing. If you're wet, it doesn't grow. We haven't gotten the growth that we would like to have gotten off of them. And so our erosion's a little higher than I'd like to see with the amount of rain we've gotten. And that's one of the biggest impacts. We've had so much rain this winter, I really feel like I've had more erosion this winter than I have the last 4 or 5 years totally added up.
And it's not just row crops.
It's been a tough year for a livestock farmer because, it's so wet. And they go in and out of pastures and they're really destroying some of their pastures because they have to feed. So there's a lot of things. We're having issues with roads washing, culverts washing out. But the livestock guys, just like everybody else, they're having issues with wet feet.
Reporting in Macon, Raleigh Livingston, WCBI News.
Dennis Reginelli says the good thing is it isn't time to plant corn just yet. He hopes to have a week or two with little to no rain at the end of March so farmers can get their crops in the ground. Time now to take a first look at our forecast. Chief Meteorologist Keith Gibson here for that. Keith?
Hi there, right now 6:07. Look at this gorgeous sunset developing in Columbus. Our Alpha Insurance camera live view there back to the west. Some cirrus clouds, some wispy, thin cirrus clouds drifting out through the region. You can see them right here. They will not really act as a blanket for tonight. So another very chilly one. We're still in the low 40s for the most part. 30s or so after 7 o'clock. Lows tonight down into the 20s yet again. All spots below freezing, so another really chilly night. But we'll moderate things a little bit tomorrow. Clouds will be on the increase, but hey, we're back into the 50s. Your full forecast is coming up.
A local bakery is giving back to the community one goodie bag at a time. Southern Flour bakery owner Nicole Huff noticed that trash was scattered around the dumpster behind her restaurant. Well, staff members soon learned that people had been digging through those dumpsters looking for food, apparently. So instead of putting the excess food inside the dumpster at the end of the day, Huff says now she places it on top to make it a little easier for those who are looking for food. She hopes other restaurants and businesses that serve food will do the same.
I would like to challenge other business owners, other restaurant owners, if you have food and you're trashing it, sit it on top. Sit it on top of that container and somebody will get it.
Nicole says she wants to help the community as much as possible. Well, thousands help the area's only homeless shelter provide meals to needy people through an annual fundraiser. The Tupelo Salvation Army held its Empty Bowls luncheon today at the Tupelo Furniture Market. For $15, guests enjoyed soups from 50 vendors. All the money raised helps the ministry provide lunch and dinner to needy people throughout the year.
Last year we served over 230,000 meals at the Salvation Army. And it's hard to do that without the support of the community. And this is one of the ways that the Salvation Army gets support from the community and the Women's Auxiliary by them using this event to raise money, and all the proceeds go to that feeding program.
Each guest was given a handcrafted piece of pottery to remind them that hunger and homelessness are year-round issues. An area educator wants all of her students to be stars. We find out how she puts them in the spotlight when we come back. Welcome back, everyone. A New York Times bestselling author makes a stop in the area. Greg Isles signed copies of Cemetery Road at Reed's Gumtree Bookstore in Tupelo. The book tells the fictional story of a journalist who has to return home to Mississippi to take care of some unfinished business. Isles wrote his first novel in 1993 and always returns to Tupelo when he releases a new book. He says he feels a deep connection to Reed's and Elvis.
Well, I just found out Elvis wore Reed's jeans, man, overalls. That's one. I'm about to Instagram that out right now. No, the Reed family's just been fantastic to me from the very start, and it's just, I miss Jack Sr. so much. It's a great store. The people of Tupelo are great. I mean, this is Mississippi, and that's my people.
Isles lives in Natchez. He has had 12 New York Times bestsellers. Well, Shakespeare once wrote all the world's a stage, and that's the idea that drives our Educator of the Week. Celsi Staggers teaches drama and music at Annunciation Catholic School in Columbus. She says she would love for all of her students to grow up and become actors and actresses, but for now she just wants to build their confidence and get them ready for the spotlight when it's their turn to be on the stage.
They start with their eyes down, and we'll say 3, 2, 1, look, and they look up and they lock eyes with someone, and they can't move their eyes. But if the person's staring back at them that they're staring at, then they have to go, ah, and do a dramatic drop to the floor. It's called look, scream.
And Staggers classes will present Willy Wonka April 4th and 5th. If you'd like to nominate your favorite teacher, go to our website, wcbi.com.
A gorgeous scene in downtown Louisville, Mississippi. Look at that. Mother Nature painting a pretty nice scene there with the setting sun and some of those cirrus clouds. We're watching some energy in California that could give us some rain on Friday, and we're tracking the potential for some storms on Saturday. More after the break.
WCBI's Educator of the Week is brought to you by Food Giant, where your neighbors are the owners. Your WCBI First Alert AccuWeather forecast with Chief Meteorologist Keith Gibson.
A gorgeous scene here on our Wednesday evening. Hopefully you've been out there taking advantage of the sights. It is a bit chilly there in Columbus, Louisville, Vernon there, Durham's Pharmacy, and in Tupelo. But all things considered, nice and peaceful on our Wednesday. Lots of sunshine today. Some of those cirrus clouds. We are now in the 40s in most spots. Look at Amory or around Amory near the upper 30s already. So we will continue to cool down into the 20s later tonight, mid-20s in most spots, mid to upper 20s. That's just ballpark. All spots below freezing. You're thinking, boy, it's cold, but it can still get cold. Our average last 25 the last week in February. We've already surpassed that. Some of you were down to about 21 or 20 this morning. 32, our last 32 or our last freeze, usually the last week in March, and the last 35 the first week in April. But we can get chilly well into April, even early May too. But the temperature trend, the model's forecasting warmer temperatures starting tomorrow around 50 or into the 50s and back into the 60s on Friday. So we're trending up as far as the temperatures are concerned. The warmer temperatures will also transport moisture back into the region. A cold front comes on in, and guess what? We have another opportunity for some strong to severe storms on Saturday here across the entire region. All modes still possible. We will continue to fine-tune the timing, the storm modes, and all that stuff over the next day or two, so stay tuned for that. For your Thursday, though, a chilly start, 20s, but we're back into the 50s. We'll probably have a lot of sun in the morning, but clouds will fill back in during the course of the afternoon, but widespread 50s around here. Some milder 60s across the southern part of Mississippi and Alabama. High pressure will be scooting off to the east, so our winds become southerly, hence the warming trend. But notice these clouds, they start to fill back in during the day. They thicken tomorrow night. We'll have a chance for some rain showers during the day Friday, maybe even a storm too Friday night into our Saturday. But look at that. There's the front, and this is the initial wave of storminess being picked up by the model. So we're still going to be refining things here as we get into the weekend. One chance of severe weather is Saturday. Guess what? We have another opportunity by the middle of next week. A couple of big storm systems coming our way, but overall we're climbing out of the deep freeze. No more nights below freezing. We're looking at some 50s tomorrow, 60s on Friday, around 70 for the weekend. Here's your forecast. Sports is next.
For WCBI Sports with Courtney Robb is brought to you by your local Ford dealers. Go further.
Tournament season is officially here and already underway. The SEC Women's Basketball Tournament in action in Greenville, South Carolina. The same drill as always, survive and advance or lose and go home. The Rebels hoping to top the Gators for a second time and keep their season alive a little bit longer. Let's get to the highlights. First game of the SEC Women's Hoops Tournament inside the Well in Greenville. Ole Miss taking on Florida. Rebels use pressure to get out in front quickly. Crystal Allen with the floater in the lane. It'd be a 6-2 Ole Miss run to start. Florida answers with a run of its own. Alicia Washington gets the inside bucket to go in the Gators lead thanks to an 11-2 run. Rebels would finally get a bucket courtesy of LaKara Salter down low. Snaps an almost 8-minute scoring drought. The Gators up 2 at halftime. Second half, Washington catches Sessom sleeping. The steal plus going coast to coast for the layup. Gators leading by 4. Ole Miss keeping it tight. The second team All-SECer Crystal Allen putting the team on her back. The spin move, layup plus the contact, and one. Coach Yo loving that action. The Gators would catch fire in the third. Washington again left all alone, drains the deep three. 10-2 run gives the Gators its largest lead of the game. Rebels fight in the fourth after a 9-0 run, cuts it under 10. Salter pulls from the top of the key, but blown assignments and turnovers plague the Rebels. Florida scoring the easy transition two right here to finish things off, and the Gators get the win 64-57. The Rebels season comes to an abrupt end. WCBI Sports' Tom Ebel is live from Greenville to recap the Rebels' final game of 2019. Hey,
Courtney, that's a wrap for year one of head coach Yolette McPhee-McEwen's tenure here at Ole Miss. You can't put a word or an expression behind what Coach Yo went through in the offseason. Of course, 9 players transferred in the offseason before she even arrived in Oxford, so her and her staff had to build a collection of transfers and freshmen, along with Chandrika Sesso and Cece Muhate. That was it. But there's a lot of positives the Rebels can take from the 2018-2019 season. They tripled their SEC win total from a year ago, finishing 3-12 in the conference. While the season didn't end the way Coach Yo and the Rebels hoped, a first-round loss in the SEC tournament, there's a lot of positives, and Coach Yo says she's excited for the future.
Although this loss sucks, it ended as it probably should. You know, a team that got put together with 2 seconds left on the shot clock, and through it we spoiled some people's agendas and won some games. I think they won 1 game last year in the regular season. So, we had a lot of good times.
I got an opportunity to play in one of the best conferences in the land, and we played against some of the top teams, Mississippi State. We played against, some of the top teams such as Kentucky, and we ended up beating them at their home floor. So there's a lot of accomplishments that we've had this season. I know it didn't end out the way I wanted it to end, the way we wanted it to end.
Coach Yo said after the game that she'll be hitting the recruiting trail tomorrow as she looks to continue her rebuilding of Ole Miss women's basketball. Reporting outside Bon Secours Wellness Arena in Greenville, South Carolina, Tom Ebel for WCBI Sports. Courtney, back to you.
thank you, Tom. Let's get to some high school action for now. Belmont trying to knock off the 2-time reigning state champ Choctaw Central. First quarter, Macy Walker to Carmen Payne on the wing for the tray ball. The Cardinals up 2 early. Still in the first quarter, Choctaw, Melanie Tharns give and go action with Kadri Denson in the no-look pass to Tharns. That would tie up the game. And now moving into the second quarter, Carmen Payne this time finds Walker for the shot off the glass. She would finish with 25 points on the day. The Cardinals leading by 5. Second quarter still, the Dandy dozen, Kadri Denson. The drive shot is good. Belmont leading by 1, but Choctaw Central would not be able to pull it off. Belmont with the upset in this one, a final of 47-38. A nail biter in Jackson. That's it for sports. We'll have your last look coming up after the break. Stick with us.
WCBI sports coverage of the NCAA tournament is brought to you by Wade Incorporated. Bank First, a better way to bank. And visit Columbus, the city that has it all.
Climbing out of the deep freeze after tonight, Andrea, we're back into the 50s, but below freezing again tonight. 60s return Friday, some showers possible. Maybe some strong storms Saturday. Also next week, we're watching out for that. Getting a little bit more active here, but that's the trade-off when we should warm it up.
It's severe weather season, so
we're getting in there.
Expecting that. All right, well, we'll keep an eye on things for sure for the weekend. That is the news at 6 o'clock. Hope you enjoy the rest of your Wednesday evening, and we'll see you back here tonight at 9 and 10.